introduce myself first and then I'll hand over to Olivia. I'm Harriet. I'm the commercial marketing lead at VML and one of the co-leads of Magpie, which is our app which we're going to talk about now. But I'll hand over to Olivia.
Hi everyone, and I'm Olivia. I am Head of Learning and Development at VML and also co-lead of Magpie. So, have you got the clicker? You're right to do the clicking.
Yep, I'll do the clicking.
Actually, if you flick back one more.
Okay.
Yeah. So women thrive by having allies. But back in 2022, we were coming out of the back of lockdown. We'd had 2 years of everyone working from home, hybrid working. We had just gone through a recent merger, which we've also gone through again just now, second one. We had an influx of loads of new starters. So it was really hard for people across the business to connect with each other and get to know each other. And then when you set that against the kind of economic landscape of the time, it was a real challenge for us as a business, as it was for all businesses really, to kind of develop, connect and retain our talent. So mentoring has long been considered, I guess, a really powerful way of developing and engaging talent, and really setting people up for success in terms of their career progression. And a study from the Academy of Management Journal found that mentees are promoted 5 times more often than those without a mentor. And of those who were mentored, 78% of mentees said that they felt more engaged with their organisation. So there's clearly a real need for mentoring across the business. But unfortunately, so often mentoring can be for the masses and not for the few and not for the masses. It's so often for the elite few. And actually a study by Forbes a recent study found that there's also a bit of a gender disparity still in terms of mentoring, with 82% of men having had male mentors, whereas only 69% of women have had female mentors. So we felt that there was a real kind of need, a real gap for mentoring in the business. And a survey was conducted by Rise, Rise is our female network at VML, our kind of employee resource group for women. And within their survey, we discovered that there was a massive appetite for mentorship across our talent that identified as women, with 83% saying that they were interested in some kind of personalised support. And that is how, over a beer one evening, our 2 Rise co-founders were chatting this over, thinking about how can we bring mentoring to VML, but bring it to everyone and not just to the elite few. And as the evening kind of wore on, they got quite excited and they came up with this lovely idea of, wouldn't it be great if you could create the Tinder of the mentoring world, whereby you keep swiping left until you see a mentor profile whose expertise and experience matches exactly what you're needing at that moment in time. And that is how they came up with Magpie. Magpie is our mentoring app that connects peers for a variety of advice and support. And the reason behind the name, why Magpie, essentially it lets all of our mentees act like magpies. So they go around and they can steal lots of shiny advice from lots of different people with different experiences across the agency.
Great. So why is Magpie different from traditional forms of mentoring? Because mentoring is nothing new, but the way that Magpie is set up is quite a unique way. It's inclusive, it's personalised, and it's connected. So it's inclusive because quite often mentoring requires a lot of time commitment, lengthy application forms, and quite often scary interview processes. Magpie sets everyone out on a completely level playing field. It's peer-to-peer, and you can tap into it as and when it suits you. So, and that's also why it's personalised. So as a mentor, you can sign up and put when you're available, and if you're, you know, at capacity sometimes and you're not available, then you don't have to be a mentor at that time. And as a mentee, you can tune in and find a mentor that suits you for your specific requirements. So that might be career progression or networking or something to do with creativity. It varies, but the premise being that it's all completely personalized, and it's super connected because it's built into our internal teams. It's integrated in the sidebar. So when you log on in the morning, it's there and you can see it. And it's that sort of visual cue which reminds you that if you have a question, you can just go into the app and find someone who probably will be able to help you.
So how do we go get it from an idea to reality? Because great idea, but so often with these things, you can have some fantastic ideas and they just sit there as a lovely idea on paper or being chatted about for months and nothing actually ever happens. So first step for us to making it actually happen was to get leadership buy-in. So our two Rise founders and myself went and met with the CEO, and she was immediately engaged with the idea, up for it, keen, supportive. So that was a huge win initially. Then we took it to the CFO, agreed a budget, and from there we were able to assemble a team. And being in an ad agency that has lots of different capabilities internally, we were able to do it all in-house. So we had a team of creatives, we had designers, we have an in-house creative technologist who's the one who actually created the app. Then we have a team of user experience design team. So once we built the app, once Jono had created this brilliant app, we then took it to research with our experience design team so they could kind of check that it was optimized and fit for purpose in terms of the user experience for people using the app. And then we also had project managers and account managers who ensured that we were keeping ourselves on track in terms of time and budget. And actually 90% of the team were all women or identified as female. And most of them had come from our Rise community. So it was another really lovely initiative there. And then our deadline, our big launch, was International Women's Day 2022. So we launched it to a big fanfare, March 2022. And initially it was just available because it had come from our Rise network and because of the reasons that we just talked about. It was initially just available to our talent that identified as female. But by the end of 2022, so by December of that year, we'd actually rolled out to the whole agency because we understood that everyone could benefit from this fantastic service. And then last year, news got out across the agencies and the other countries. And so it was rolled out across North America, across APAC, and other companies within our UK group.
Great. So this is what the app looks like. So as you can see, when you go into it, you can search for a mentor by name, by topic, and then you can sort of see who has filtered their experience by each topic. So we have so many different topics, about 15 topics, and quite often it's career progression, networking, maternity, health and well-being in the workplace, public speaking. And once you filter by what topic you want, you can see which mentor has experience in that. And then you can click through onto their bio, and then they write a bio themselves so that whatever they feel comfortable with. And then what's great, and we don't have a picture of this, but what's great is that you can, when you click chat on Teams, it then pops up with an automated message which you can send to that mentor saying, "Hi, I see you have experience in XYZ. Would you be free for a coffee? I'd love to hear more about it." Which is really, really great. And just from a design perspective, the designers based the user experience from the Top Trumps game. I think that was their main source of inspiration. So something which we can all relate to. And it's just it's a really great format for just being able to reach out to someone. And then as a mentor as well, because you don't want, a mentor might think, I'd love to be a mentor, but I don't know how to do it. I don't know what type of questions are going to come up by a mentee. the mentor, if they sign up to be it, we run training sessions with them. We put safeguarding in process as well, so that they're aware that it is completely on an ad hoc basis. So there's no commitment requirement from them to a mentee and from a mentee to a mentor either. So they just know that quite often it's a facilitator for networking and helping peers as well. So yes, as you can see here, so these are just two case examples from the last year. We have Helen, who has an experience as a mentor. She reached out and has met 10 other people across the agency who, it's meant that she's worked on different projects with them, which she might not have known to they had an experience in XYZ. So it's been a really good facilitator for her. And then with Rachel, who's relatively new into the work environment, she was having some challenges and actually found that reaching out via Magpie to a mentor meant that she understood that the challenges which she's facing it's not just her, other people go through it, and it provides that community and safe space as well. Oh, there we go. Okay, great. And this last slide is basically just to go through what we've done over the last 2 years. And as Olivia mentioned earlier, we're trying to open up Magpie to everyone at work. And within the first week, we received 80% engagement when we launched on International Women's Day, which is a huge amount. And then we, in the last year, have won the Best New Talent Initiative at the Drum Awards, and last year came highly commended in the Business Culture Awards, which was a really exciting event, as you can see. That's up there with me with the prize. And moving forward, we've just, as Olivia said earlier, we've just merged again, effective from January. So this is great because we're now the largest creative agency in the world, and that opens us up to so many new employees which we can relaunch Magpie with. So that's just something which is at the forefront of our mind as we go into the next year, an opportunity to re-engage and engage new employees. And we kicked this off a couple of months ago for International Women's Day in 2024. Olivia ran a brilliant Magpie Live speed mentoring event, which had a really high turnout, and it was a really valuable session, especially for those who are new into the workforce and want to try and meet new people, having had a quite hybrid way of working over the last few years. So that's been great. And I would just say in summary then, with Magpie, obviously it's brilliant that we have the one-to-one connections that come off the app, but it's becoming a facilitator for events. We're able to run multitude of events which are Magpie led, and the data collected from Magpie as well helps inform the people strategy which Olivia and her team run. So it means that we're always listening to what our employees are talking about, what they need support with, and how we can then sort of build from there moving forward. Yeah, and that's everything from me. Cool.
Oh, thank you very much. Let's give them a round of applause. You're definitely taking Tinder to a new level, actually. So we have a question. It's a fantastic initiative, well done. How are you measuring the success of your app?
So Olivia and I were actually talking about this yesterday because we feel like that's a really good question which will probably come up. And I would say there are two ways that we measure. There's the qualitative feedback which we receive, so case studies, and we hear from we're plugged into the different markets globally. So in APAC, we've got Magpie champions that are the ones who really sort of spread the Magpie word and listen to the mentors and mentees in those markets, and then they share their feedback with us, and so that's very much more qualitative. And then we have the quantitative feedback which we get from click-through on the so when you go into the app, we can see which topics are being searched the most, and then when you click through onto a bio and then go onto the chat on Teams, that in itself will then mark up as the way that we're measuring how many people are using it. The challenge which we have found, and it's something which we are working to resolve at the moment, is that quite often someone will click through onto Magpie and have a look through and think like, okay, that's Helen, that's who I want to reach out to and talk to. And then they'll click off the app and reach out to them separately, which means that we can't track. But we spoke to our creative technologist, Jono, who built the app about this. And he was like, okay, well, what we could do is try and reduce the length of the user experience when you're in the app. So instead of 2 CTAs, you have 1 CTA. So when you're in the homepage, you can just click chat on Teams straight away through there rather than clicking onto the bio to then do it. So we're trying to work out a way to ensure that we're getting the best data that we can. But Olivia, I don't know if you have anything else.
I think the only other one to add to that would be, and then we also check in with the mentors quite regularly to find out anecdotally if, how many mentees have approached them, to try and check in those against the data within the app.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Any other questions oh gosh, there are lots of questions. Wow. Okay, I'll start here. We've probably got time for maybe 2. So if I don't get to you,
Yeah.
oh, well, that's even better. If I can answer them before you've answered them, that's even better.
Where should we get at? Sis? Yeah, so I wondered from an L&D perspective, the content that, the insights you're getting, content or themes that you were surprised by?
Interesting. I don't think there were surprises. I think maybe the massive interest in networking, because that, I'd say at the beginning, in that first week when it was 80% engagement, I think a large proportion was around personal networking. So I think that we were quite surprised, and that is why we're now putting on more workshops about building your own personal brand and things like that. So yes, I guess there were surprises, and then there were equally ones that we were less surprised around, and also maybe some surprises in that getting some feedback to add in new themes, like because we had been through 17 mergers, was to add in a theme around kind of capability knowledge. So it was less around kind of personal development, but more specific skills based. So getting to know someone from the data team to get a bit more upskilled in data.
Thank you. And last question.
Is that right?
Yes.
Thank you. I thought it was great. I'm on a similar journey. I'm doing one for 9 organisations, and I think it launched in January. I think one of the things I'm already seeing is huge amounts of engagement, but it's people sitting there and not actually reaching out to somebody, creating a profile as a mentee, and then going. So I've got loads of mentees and loads of them. So I wanted to understand, how do you nudge people into maybe actually reaching out, so they create a profile and they don't do anything with it?
Yeah, and that is a real challenge. I think it is, number one, it's about continually embedding it into absolutely all communications that we have. So it's part of the onboarding process. It's part of our manager boot camps. It's referenced in pretty much every event that we have. Any link that could possibly connect to mentoring will reference Magpie, so it's front of mind. I think also, as Harriet pointed out, that chat on Teams, that tiny button, I know it sounds like such a small detail, but because I think sometimes the barrier can be people thinking, I'd love to get in contact with that mentor, but how would I phrase it correctly? Whereas the fact that we've got a ready-made written message removes that barrier. But there are definitely some people who are interested but not doing it.
I would say as well, just the one extra point as well, is when you engage really senior people in an organisation and they are signed up as mentors, as someone quite junior going into the workforce, and you're like, okay, I really want to make myself known, but I don't know how to do it. You can then think, actually on Magpie, it's a facilitator for me to do that. So just having that really senior advocacy really does help, I would say, and making sure that they're talking about it as well outside of the Magpie realms.
Okay, well, I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there. But if you have any other questions, I guess you guys are around for the rest of the day. Or put it in the app and we'll do our best to get an answer back to you. So thank you very much. One more round of applause.